I'm interested to get your opinion on what impact this rule will have on the North American commercial vehicle sector, be it the suppliers, be it the OEMs, and also the users of these trucks.
Well, it's a very good question. Obviously, it's a central question in the conference. I think that the first point that I would make is that the agencies, EPA and NHTSA, DOT, did an outstanding job of engaging all the stakeholders in the development of this rule. It's really a landmark rule in many ways. It's the first of its kind anywhere in the world. And it's the first that really attempts to deal with the complexity of the commercial vehicle business as it exists in the North American market. We've got thousands of different types of trucks, all different vocations and duty cycles and customers and regional variation. And to the best possible approximation, this rule attempts to deal with that. I think the impacts are still being understood and still being wrestled with. I think the impacts from an OEM standpoint are, for the first time, they're having to deal with the questions of working and doing business in a more regulated environment. That's been true on the engine side for many years, and everyone's accustomed to the procedures and protocols and the paperwork of dealing with EPA regulation. But I think that's something we're all confronted with now. On our side, it's hybrid systems, automated transmissions, and other parts of our system offering to OEMs. Those are all going to become part of regulated configurations, and as a result, there are certain certification requirements, there are certain expectations in terms of just processes and procedures. I think probably the biggest question right now that's still outstanding, now that the rule itself is clear, is that the actual procedures required to provide the certification results and for us to be able to stand behind them aren't yet quite clear. And there's still some amount of development, some amount of discussion and negotiation with the agency in terms of nailing those down and truly finalizing them. I think we all understand conceptually what we have to do, but I think understanding in detail what's required to really meet the letter and spirit of the rule and kind of move forward into this new regulated environment, that's really the biggest challenge. From an end user standpoint, from a fleet standpoint, my personal belief is this is going to be much more of a win than previous rulemakings that they've had experience with, and we all know what we've been through. But this is a rule that kind of formally challenges the industry to produce a more efficient truck. And in my view, that's an enormous win for the customer, an enormous win for the end user. And it's really the first time that I can see where there's been that kind of alignment between policy, business interests, and customer interests. So I really think it's a win for everyone.
As a supplier, do you find that the OEMs are coming to you for solutions, or are you taking suggestions to them? And at the same time, what your role as a supplier, are you being beaten down on cost, or are you finding that OEMs are willing to pay for the solutions that will help them to meet this rule?
Well, part of the role of the supplier is to be beaten down on cost.
Okay.
But part of the role of the supplier is also to offer high-value solutions that justify what we would consider to be a value price. And Eaton's business is founded on creating that kind of value and working with our OEM customers in partnership to deliver it to the end users. So in terms of the way the relationship has worked, we've been very closely involved with the development of the rule for the last couple of years, and on kind of the technical side as well as the policy side. And as a result of that, we've been developing our own internal view of how we could help as we move forward. So yeah, we have put potential solutions or ideas on the table with our OEM customers, but at the same time, they've gone through their own process of internalizing this, and frankly, we've collaborated pretty extensively with most of our customers and the other stakeholders during the rural development process. So I would say that it's not us taking it to them or them taking it to us, but rather kind of meeting in the middle around what they need, what they think they want in their products, how they would intend to use some of the flexibilities that are available to them in the form of credits and whatnot, and then what we can provide as a supplier in those same areas.
Have you found a deeper level of collaboration between OEMs and suppliers as a result of this rule, or is this something that is almost being taken in stride?
I think in the commercial vehicle industry, maybe a little differently than other parts of the wheeled vehicle industry, the collaboration between suppliers and OEMs is actually very close. We have extremely good technical and business working relationships with our OEM customers, and honestly, you know, we do our best, and they do their best to make sure those relationships are productive. So they listen carefully when we talk about our new technologies, and we may get a challenge here and there on the value proposition or the price, but in the end, I think it's a very open dialogue about what the best solution really should be.
Okay, this is a US rule, but the solutions that you're developing can be used elsewhere. Are you finding that the solutions that help OEMs and suppliers to meet this rule are being deployed elsewhere, or are you developing specific technologies?
For the U.S.?
For the U.S.
I would say we're all dealing with the same laws of physics. In the end, the technological solutions are likely to be similar. What'll be different are the level of stringency of the local regulations. We heard about China a little while ago being perhaps a little bit more tailored to the Chinese market and the realities of the Chinese duty cycle. And that's entirely likely and probably the right thing to do. But in the end, aerodynamics are aerodynamics. If trucks run slower, they get less benefit. If they run faster, they get more. Low rolling resistance tires generally are going to pay off. Some of the things that are done on the engine side to change the trade-off between fuel economy and criteria pollutants, those are going to be applicable globally and ultimately will be as future emissions rules roll out. So I don't necessarily see the palette of technologies changing greatly, but the colors that you pick and the way you mix them for a local market may be different.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for your time.